Hello, everyone. I'm Captain Logan, and tonight we're going to do something different. We are going to live broadcast DJ doing a tutorial on how he makes thumbnails. And he's going to take us his wonderful, amazing professional thumbnails. We're going to find out how he makes those wonderful thumbnails. And I want to say thanks to everybody who's already popped in the comments and asked them some questions to DJ. We're going to field those periodically throughout the program. And I'm just going to be moderating comments tonight. We're going to flip things. I'm going to be DJ's chat moderator, and so it's time for me to stop talking. DJ, take it away, buddy.
Oh man, it's uncomfortable, like not knowing what people are saying. I usually have the safety net right there. Now I'm just like in the dark. So hopefully Cap's done this before. Cap's a pro. I trust him.
I'll take it easy on you. You know, if anybody says something really mean, I just won't let you know about
it. No, that's what motivates me. So maybe even throw some of those in if people don't say them.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just to fill time.
Yeah, just to verbally berate me every now and then. No, I'm just gonna pull up my screen, obviously, and then I'll just kind of walk you guys through this step by step, exactly how I make it. We'll see. I don't know how familiar you guys are with Photoshop. I'm gonna be using the Adobe software, but a lot of the other softwares are pretty similar. So just more like the techniques is what I'll be teaching, not necessarily, the nitty gritty with the key commands and all that stuff. I will say that for those of you who do know Photoshop, but yeah, I'm just going to walk you through. If you're ready to share a screen, we can.
Before we do that, Blue Dragon 5 wants to know where you got that great shirt.
Oh, I got this shirt from TJ Maxx, which doesn't help you because that's a store that gets product from other brands. So I actually don't know what the brand is. It just says Marvel Avengers on it, so I don't know. But yeah, it's pretty cool. And I wore it because it's kind of designy. I don't know.
No, it's neat.
Appropriate for today.
You've worn that a few times, I think.
Yeah, I remember I wore it on
I always want to get out markers, though.
Well, yeah, if there's a little bit of space. I'll let you add something next time you see me.
I just want to color in the black and white ones because there's a little bit of smatterings of color, and then I'm just like, let's color in all the Thor hammers. For some reason, none of the Thor hammers have color.
No. Thor, you got to keep it simple with Thor.
If you have any questions about DJ's process, graphic design in general, anything he happens to be talking about, field them direct them to me, and I will field those. Are you ready, DJ, to do the screen share thing?
I'm ready. I'm gonna click it right now. Thank you, Skype. Not a sponsor, Skype, but they should be.
They need us though because we're the only channel still using them.
Yes, sir. How's that? Am I coming in clear?
I see the channel right now.
Okay, that's where I was going to start.
Oh, all great. Right. Okay, cool. Take it away, sir.
All right, guys. So this is where I want to start because I will be showing you tonight, this evening, how to design this thumbnail right here. Justice League, the last superhero rewind that was made. Actually, not the last one that was made because I made one after this, but it never got released.
It will someday. It will.
But yes, so I thought I'd do Superhero Rewind because this is the most kind of consistent style, at least of the thumbnails that I create for the channel. Captain Logan Show is kind of all over the place with different, just whatever inspiration hits me that week, all different kind of news stories. So I'm going to go with the Superhero Rewind because that's the big thing on the channel. I thought people might be interested in it, and they've kind of got a revamp lately. So I'm going to jump right into Photoshop, and here it is. This is the thumbnail that we made. I was going to talk a little bit about how when me and Cap came up with this style, we came up with this because we wanted the fact that it was a story analysis to be front and center and kind of the main thing. So we left almost half of the whole screen with text, originally saying story analysis, and then we started putting in titles there towards the end. So we really wanted to focus on the story analysis for these thumbnails. And then we also wanted an eye-catchy visual that we could keep consistent across all the movies, that we could, pull in some of the poster elements, but not make it too different, keep them uniform. So we came up with this cool watercolor brushstroke effect with the gradient map here, and mixing those up and trying to come up with color combinations that go with the movie, but also differentiate it from all the other ones I've done, because I've done like hundreds, or not that many, but I've done so many of these rewinds at this point. So that was a fun combo we came up with, and it's been working out. So I'm going to show you how to do it. So I'm basically going to start from scratch. I don't know if any of you had design classes. It brings me back to college days, but I'm literally going to go up to here, File, New, like any software ever. I have a template here that I use when I make thumbnails.
DJ, I had a Photoshop class back in high school in like '03.
Oh,
That's like the last time I took a class on this, and I'm just looking at it, I'm like, wow, it looks so different now. Like, of course it does.
yeah, it's ramped up. They've beefed it up. But this is my template that I use every time I make a thumbnail for Cap or the channel. I just named it YouTube thumbnail. This is basically just, you can set up your basic settings in the beginning, so you don't have to do that every time. So this is 1920 by 1080, 300 resolution, RGB color. This is what you want to use for the YouTube. If you're going to make a YouTube thumbnail, make it 1920 by 1080. That's the resolution, the sizing that you need. I'm just going to name this Superhero Rewind Tutorial. And then I'm going to hit create, and boom, there it is. Blank space. All right, so first, what are we going to start with? We're going to start with the big image. So basically, I have a folder here that I've been using. It's just the elements that I'm using. I'm not actually going to show you that all I did was Google Justice League wallpaper. I'm not going to bore you with that. I'm just going to pop it in. So I just Google Justice League wallpaper. You look for one that you like, and then you open it up in Photoshop. And here it is. This is the one I found. This is the exact picture that we've used.
So far, this is exactly how I make my thumbnails.
Yes. See, we're on the same page. Cap can do this in his sleep. He's already ahead of me. But the first thing I did for this, and I don't even know if Cap will even know that I did this, but there's these things in Photoshop that you can do called actions. You can basically make an edit for a certain kind of filter, how you want it to look, and then record it, and then turn it into an action, and then just hit play, and it'll do that again for as many times as you want to do it. So I have this one here called Retro Painting that I've already made. So all I have to do is hit play, and this is just before I even start designing, just to get my images all looking the same kind of style. This will just give it that kind of retro comic booky type look. So if you've noticed, whenever you're seeing the superhero rewinds, this is what they look. It's just taking a minute here to finish that render. It's taking longer than it usually does. That's not good. Do we have a question?
We are off to a great start here. But yeah, I'm excited to see what that looks like, because I had no idea that's how you did that.
Yeah, so there you go. So you see, if I zoom in a little bit, you just got that kind of comic booky look.
Okay.
It kind of flattens out the colors and makes the strokes a little bigger so that it stands out a little bit when we put it in the gradient on the other side. So I'm just
kind of a
going
template thing that you have to put together in the first place, and then after that you just press a button.
Yeah, it'll go through all the steps for you once you record it the first time. And then I'm doing one more thing to this image. I'm going to go to layer. I'm going to go to image, sorry. And I'm going to go to, one thing I have to do first, go up to that and hit flatten image. That'll just condense your layers. And then you go to
I remember that part from school.
image and adjustment, and then desaturate.
The opposite of a Snyder film.
Yes, so I'm just going to go here, grab my slider, desaturate it, because we don't need that color, because we're going to add the gradient later. So then I'm going to go here again.
I should say the opposite of Ghostbusters 2016.
All right, so I have my desaturated image, and then I'm sorry, my mouse is giving me trouble this evening, and that's why I'm kind of befuddled. All right, so all we have to do is literally drag that desaturated image that we made into our blank canvas. I'm going to hit Command T on my keyboard, which is Control T if you're using Windows, and that just brings up our reshape tool. So we just make it smaller, easy peasy. Make it fit into our window here, and boom, we're done. That's how easy it is. No. Next thing, I'm going to add a layer. See this little plus layer button here? I'm going to add a layer. I'm going to use my brush strokes. This is how we get that nice brush stroke effect that Cap sees me do a lot. And Cap has heard me talk about brushes a lot. These are Photoshop brushes. You can download presets online. Basically what it does, it just gives you that shape, and then you can work with it with just using your mouse. Or if you have a tablet, that's much better to use a pen than an actual mouse. But so this is basically what I did to achieve this effect. I just brought this in, I turned it to about that angle, and I brought the size up. I'm not gonna, so there we go. And then I just did that, and did that, and boom, see, that's the shape. The original shape you see.
I feel like I'm seeing a magic trick deconstructed that I never wanted to see deconstructed. Like, this is really cool finally seeing this process, but there's a part of me that like never wanted to know because it just looks so impossible. I'm like, how does it even work?
Oh, just get ready. See, I'm gonna be a complete fraud. You're gonna think I'm a fraud by the time I'm done with this. So that's basically the shape. I'm just gonna bring in my shape from my other file just so I have the exact same shape.
That's so cool.
It's gonna be hard to recreate it exactly. So I'm just gonna duplicate layer.
I should have called this How the Sausage is Made.
There we go. All these good titles we're coming up with after the fact.
Daniel Davis says size does matter.
That's not good. Oh no. Why is my Photoshop giving me grief? Ah! Okay, that's really annoying.
Always when you're broadcasting, man.
I know.
That is just the rule.
Here. I'm gonna stop sharing for a minute and just restart my Photoshop. Sorry about that.
Okay, no problem.
Do you have some questions?
Yeah, why don't we go ahead and get into some of those? I was about to say if we didn't have any technical problems and that got that started working out better, that we would just do all the questions at the end since we were watching a tutorial, but I guess we'll do some of them now. I thought he was smoothing out. Daniel Davis, DJ, what is your favorite and least favorite of the thumbnails that you've made?
Oh, good grief, that's really hard. Especially when you think about all the Captain Logan show ones, because there's so many that I just did like last minute, like right before the show, where it's just like text on an image. So those ones would be the least favorite, obviously. I really like doing the Marvel Mania ones. Some of those more complicated ones were really cool. And then recently, when we started doing the Captain Logan show, where they were just kind of all visual and no text, where I kind of made that funny one with Michael Keaton about him replacing Ben Affleck, and then we did the Captain America one where he stole the costume and he was maybe potentially coming back. So yeah, there was a cool section there.
Some of those ended up not being relevant anymore, and we used them anyway because the thumbs were so great.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Streaming Wars is really cool. That's really actually difficult to get that to work because there's so many colors, and the poster, you have to get a poster that like you can still see through all that. I really was happy with the one that I just made, and then it didn't happen.
We'll do it eventually, though. You'll get to use it again. Hopefully. Although if it's not a Streaming Wars, then...
then, yeah, it'll be different.
I think my favorite might still be the Venom one from Marvel Mania.
Yes, that one was a lot of fun. That one was a lot. That might be the one I spent the most time on, because it was 4 different Venom posters that I had to like combine into one and make it work, and it was really annoying.
What's the one that you would say has the most images in it?
Oh, do you remember well, maybe the most images in it was the after show for Marvel Mania, because I just kept cramming characters in that one. But the most complicated one was the TV 24-hour stream, where I kept getting characters in and I made them like all different colors, and I used the TV lines. I don't know if you remember that one.
About that, yeah. It's been over a year now, yeah.
Yeah, that one was rough.
God, you've been doing this for a long time for us now.
Yeah, it started all the way back with the Morphin Mania stuff.
Yeah, and I love the design for that show too. Jer Bear, what was the most time-consuming thumbnail to make? Is it the 24-hour stream that you were just talking about, or is it a different one?
It may be. Yeah, maybe so, because I'm sure there's something that I'm not thinking of. I know the one that was really complicated also was the 100 years or 100 or 10 years, 100 episodes that we did for Captain Logan Show.
Yes.
I copied the Marvel 10 years thing, and made it 100 episodes, and had to do the S like, and really mimic that style was really hard because it was like their stuff looks really professional, so that took some time.
Oh wow, it looked really authentic, and that one's great because we had that background where that like gold, I think it was gold. Wasn't it like gold and black? I can't remember. But it was really cool looking.
Yeah. That was a fun one. I like that one. Yeah, I'm sure I'm blanking on just a bunch of them. Like you said, it's been so many. It's been a really long time.
And DJ has a big portfolio of a lot of this stuff that you can see on his website. I don't think you've got everything listed there, but it's got all the Marvel Manias.
No, I'm trying to catch up, but yeah, there's I haven't
the rewinds. I think are all there. Sorry, what were you saying?
I was just gonna say I haven't done the second round of rewinds yet. I did do the first round of rewinds, but I'm just gonna have to do this from scratch because my Photoshop is not cooperating.
Okay,
so.
Can we do a couple of super chats just real fast?
Sure.
Just so that we don't forget about them, and in case folks end up running off. Everybody else has left comments. I will try to get to some more of those a little bit later. So everybody just be patient with this if you would. My ex-wife is a cow is back. $5 super chat. Besides
awesome.
being ninjas, Leonardo, Donatello, Michelangelo, and Raphael are great artists. What artists inspire you?
Oh, that is not. I don't have a good answer for that. I'm never up on my art as I should be. It's kind of like if you're a writer and you need to be reading all the time. You're supposed to be consuming art all the time, but I don't because I'm working 8-hour job and then doing this. So I don't really just like consume art. I mean, I consume art visually through movies, obviously, and video games.
But what would you point to as your major influences, even if you can't like name an artist? What sort of art would you say is your main influence? Like starting there? If you can even do that.
I don't know if I mean, it's kind of just, you'll just go on research montages, like Pinterest or Dribble or any of those like art collection sites, just like find stuff and throw it in collections and just look at it whenever you want to be inspired. I don't even know necessarily the artists because I'm just kind of scrolling through. DeviantArt too is another one where you just like look at people's work and get inspired by it, but you don't ever really like know the artist. But I mean, yeah, just that kind of like, I mean, the big style that I really like is that kind of collage-y style that I'm kind of using for this, where it's kind of like ephemera, torn paper effects, make it kind of looks 3D, which is why I absolutely love Spider-Verse because that was right in my wheelhouse. So that was probably, I've talked about how that movie inspired me a ton when I saw that movie. So the animators of Spider-Verse, whoever they are, because I don't know their names either, but.
So your stuff seems to have some kind of like pulp comic sensibilities to me, or even like pulp, not even just comics, but novel kind of sensibilities, like covers. But if I may, just from the outside looking in, you look really influenced, even if you're not, but with a lot of your stuff, particularly a lot of the stuff you've done for me, by like classic storybooks.
Yeah.
I just see a lot of that in your work.
I mean, that's a big thing that I'm doing right now with my son is I'm going to collect a ton of books. There's books everywhere in this room. So yeah, I'm looking at those a lot and reading him picture books every day, twice a day before nap and before bedtime. So yeah, that's probably true.
So Divid22 has $2 super chat, and I don't understand it, but I'm going to read it. Could you make a thumbnail for the number 4 Theory Spawn Years 2? I'm not sure what most of that means. So something about
Cap
a thumbnail.
would hate me if I made a Spawn Year 2 thumbnail.
Yeah, I don't know what the word theory is about.
I don't know. I guess that's just his theory, is that he wants a Spawn Year 2.
We're always trying to interpret comments from some of our commenters. But yeah, thanks for the super chat, Divid22. Yeah, I mean, If I did a particular show, I would ask DJ for a thumbnail, and then he would either do it or he wouldn't, depending on time and how important it is versus other things we're doing. There's like a priority thing, you know.
Yeah. I don't. That would be cool if it worked that way, but I don't just make a thumbnail and then Cap has to make the thing.
Yeah, he will sometimes make a thumbnail for videos he knows I'm making that I didn't necessarily ask him to make a thumbnail for. He'll do that, but he won't like make a thing and then be like, "Okay, Cap, here's your project. Do it.
Do this." No, that would be great. I wish I wielded that power.
He might mean art theory. Okay, I don't. Oh, a theoretical one. He's saying, just like he's
just
asking
like
if you'll make. He's basically asking you to make fan art.
I'm not above it.
You know, it's funny that you asked that, David, because this was actually a thought I had earlier today. Believe it or not, DJ, we are only 2 years away from the 10th anniversary of Spawn Year, which is insane to consider. But I started that in 2013, and we are you know, two years away. So I am considering doing some kind of cool thing for the anniversary of that. I don't know what it is. I'm not going to be making another Spawn Year. I haven't even been able to complete the sequel to that show that I was trying to make, and it's probably not going to get finished at this point, which I really hate saying because I tried it twice and it didn't work out. But anyway, so
and can we reveal? Since...
I want to finish it in some form. But what I was going to say is, you could perhaps make a thumbnail for whatever we did for the anniversary of Spawn Year. There could be a Spawn Year anniversary thumbnail, maybe.
Oh yeah, well yeah, and I was just gonna say, we can reveal now that the welder was gonna make an appearance in that Spawn Year sequel.
Yeah.
In the Batman thing.
That's true.
But
I had plans for several people. I even wrote scripts. There was stuff folks were supposed to do, and it just didn't end up working out, unfortunately, for lots of different reasons. It's just not in the cards, man. It sucks. It's like I don't know. Your family, 3 kids, it's real. And now I'm going to have 5, and yeah. But I do want to finish Nightfall in some capacity.
Oh, absolutely, man. It's I totally understand. That was a behemoth of a project from the beginning.
But anyway, let's get back to the screen sharing if you're back up and running.
I am up and running.
All right, sir.
It's being difficult, but I'm going to power through.
Okay.
And we are going to make this fully from scratch. I was going to try to use some elements to make it go faster, but we're going to have to make it fully from scratch. So,
oh no.
Are we seeing my Photoshop?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, here's, like I said, here's my brush stroke. I'm going to try to line it up as best I can. It's going to be a little difficult from scratch to make it perfect.
The giant hand.
Yeah, well, this is the Super Smash Bros. The giant hand was my inspiration for this.
I was trying to beat Master Hand, and I couldn't beat him, and so as a catharsis, I put Master Hand in my thumbnail.
Exactly. So I'm just trying to get a second glance at this so I can line it up how I had it originally. But this is it. I just did a couple clicks here to make the brush stroke come through. It's probably going to be a little different than the original, but that's okay. We're making an all new piece here. So that's what I have. Now, literally, this is going to be interesting for you guys. So I have the image on top. Right-click your layer. I'll make it bigger for you so you can see it. Right-click your layer, and then go down here to clipping mask, and boom, it puts it right in there. Locks it to your shape. I know.
Oh, cool.
Amazing, right? Okay, and then the next thing we need...
We live in the future.
I know, Cap's going to want to get Photoshop again after this, hopefully. Hopefully you all do. That's what I'm doing. That's my end goal. I'm getting everyone... I'm being sponsored by Photoshop. I get paid for this. No, I don't. Obviously not. So the next thing I'm going to do is go down to... It's an adjustment layer, which is this half moon circle here. These are all your adjustment layers. These are where you get really into the nitty-gritty stuff. It's called a gradient map. Down here at the bottom is what I'm going to click on, which will make it... Right now it's just making it black and white, so you can't even tell, but there's these templates in here that you can click on. I have it on the wrong layer, that's why it's not doing anything.
Now that I'm seeing this done, I should have been able to imagine more of this than I did.
Yeah, I'm sure you could do it.
Because now I'm looking at this, I'm like, oh, of course you used a gradient layer. Like, yeah.
Yeah. So the gradient mesh, instead of just putting a matte gradient from one side to the other, it actually meshes it into the depth of the photo, which is really cool. So but none of these are really going to work. These are just kind of like the standard generic crappy gradients that Photoshop gives you, so I had to make my own. So I've got them written down here just to make things go faster. So the first color I used was the white. This is just going to be a little bit of annoying clicking. There's the white. The second color I used, this was actually one of the most complicated ones I did. Usually it's just like one or two. It started out just being like 2, maybe 3 colors when I first started doing the superhero rewinds. But of course, as I do, as DJ does, I started getting more and more complicated as I went along. So this is the orange from that photo. There's going to be a blue in there.
If you were like a pretentious 9th grader, you would have just left it in like the negative.
In the negative one? That's what they did?
Yeah, that's kind of a cliche for like, you know, beginning graphic artists or like kids. Or like everything looks cooler in negative or in sepia tones.
That is true. I remember that. I remember those years. So there's my lighter blue. We added that in, and that was at 69. And then my last color was the dark blue, almost black, just to give it the depth toward the end there. Actually replace my black because I don't need a full black. And there we go. That is how it's done.
Wow, cool.
So, it's a lot easier if you don't need, I was trying to copy the exact colors just to get through this quickly, but just click around yourself. You can click on colors. You can add colors whenever you want to, and then you just click on it. You can literally pick any color you want from here. It's super easy and customizable. I'm going to do the same thing that I've done before. So it's starting to take shape. You can look back at this one. Well, you could if I didn't do that brushstroke thing, but here we go. Next thing.
Real quick, can I ask you a stupid question?
Sure thing.
Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. Did the order of those like major steps really matter? Like, could you have done the gradient on the main image first and then put the hand thing in, or did you have to do the
Absolutely.
hand thing first?
No, you can. Yeah, you can do it pretty much whenever. The way I work is all non-destructive, and if you're going to get into design, you have to do non-destructive work because it'll just save you hours and hours and hours of time. For instance, like if I had just erased, yeah, I'll show you as I go along, but you never want to permanently erase stuff. You just use, Photoshop has these things called layer masks where you'll erase it, but it'll still be there. So if you just turn the layer mask off, all your stuff is still there. I use those all the time when I'm designing thumbnails, when I'm erasing stuff. You know, when I like to have like text go in front of somebody.
Yeah.
And it kind of cuts them off. You never want to erase that forever because if you bump it over a little bit because you have to reposition, it's gone and you have to start over from scratch. So you just do a layer mask, covers it up, and that's called non-destructive work.
Okay.
I'm going to do one more.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I'm going to do one more thing to this image here. I'm going to do another adjustment layer. This one's called levels. And with this slider, you can just kind of darken or lighten it. And you have your midtones and you have your highlights. All I'm going to do for this one is add a 10 to the dark, to the shadows, just to bump it up because we're about to cover it up with some textures. Let's get into the text. That's the big main thing for this. So I'm just going to add that in. What was it? It was the strongest man is strongest alone.
Yeah, that was it. Sorry, we just got a super chat from Grace, and I don't know if this is your wife, Grace.
Oh, no, it probably is. She probably started a YouTube channel just to do this to me.
499 super chat. Who is your artistic muse? Trick question.
Well, that is true. That is very true.
Hi, Grace.
I don't want to say that she inspires me for this goofy comic book art, especially some of the thumbnails I make. That might be an insult, but but no, she's definitely she's everything. Kat knows how great she is. She motivates me and she keeps me working on I do the main reason I do more stuff on this channel than I probably would is because of her, because she motivates me to do it. She forces me to do it when I'm like worried that I'm taking too much time away from her. She's like, no, go ahead and do it. This is what you love. She's awesome. She's
and our wives are both amazing in that way. Neither of us could do what we do, pardon me, without the support of our wives. And Grace could not be cooler and more supportive about the things that we do here on the channel.
Yeah, she's awesome. I'm a fan. I think I'll keep her around.
Me too, but differently.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna make a new text layer here. That's lorem ipsum. If you don't know what that is, that's Latin, and that's just like the generic text that fills in when you don't have anything written yet.
Oh, weird. Our next super chat is from lorem ipsum. Somebody should make that a handle.
Yeah, if that would have been her name, I would have recognized her even faster than her putting Grace.
Just her name?
I would know, because she's a designer too. I don't know if you guys know this, but I know you do. But
yeah.
I don't know if the audience knows, but she's also a designer, so we work on this stuff all the time. The strongest man is strongest. I'm getting very distracted. Alone. All right, now this is our text. Now, obviously, it looks horrible right now. But
no, just leave it like that. It looks fine. Leave it tiny and blue.
So everyone's done this, I assume. I assume everyone in computer class in like 3rd grade has added text and like changed the font size of it. So I'm not going to spend too much time. But you've got your character panel here. And then you can just put in whatever font size you need. I'm going to need it at 32.4 because I've already measured this out. This second part. Now, I like to get this kind of boxy. If you notice the original, I wanted it to be very boxy. So I made the middle row a lot bigger. So I have that middle row at, if you're following along at home, I have the middle row at 77 points. Much bigger. And then the third row I have at 27.4. And then I have to make the leading at 24. If you don't know what leading is the line spacing between rows. And there's a little section over here called leading. You can resize those. Next thing I'm going to do is go to color. Boom. Right here. We don't need it blue. We need it to be our nice bright orange color, which I'm just going to color pick from here.
How arbitrary were the color choices in this?
They were not arbitrary. I did pull them like from the original image. If we look here, there's a lot of everything in Zack Snyder stuff has a lot of oranges and blues. So those are the kind of colors I pulled for this. I don't know why I didn't write down the orange color, but no matter. I can literally just, if you double click on your color over here and just use this sample brush, it'll pull you an orange, which is pretty cool.
Can you do it's not an eyedropper, what is it? What's that tool that lets you pull like precisely a color that's in the image already?
That's exactly what it is.
Is that what you just did? Okay.
Mm-hmm. So you pull the eyedropper, and then I can just copy that color.
Oh, cool. Sorry, the way you said that, I thought you did it some other way. I was like, I know this one!
And paste it right in there. So we got our text. So we're getting there. We're coming along. The main thing, this is where stuff's really going to start to pop, though. Well, first, let me do something simple. Let me just bring in our logo. If you don't know, Dan's News made the Superhero Rewind logo initially. That was like the full letters out with the animation, and I just basically worked from that, and I pulled the S and the R out of it, and I made it right here. Obviously, this is just basic white right now, but I'm gonna resize it and change the color, and it'll look
We didn't have an official font or logo for Superhero Rewind for years and years, and he finally gave us that new intro, which we're not using now because it's a podcast, but we've retained that that font, that logo, and I love it. It's wonderful.
Yeah. So this is where it gets really cool. See, these go back to my layers panel. The Adobe software. This is Adobe Photoshop. There's also Adobe Illustrator, which is for drawing, more artistic stuff like that. They're all linked together. So all I have to do is double click on this logo that I have here because it's a smart object. open right up here in Illustrator. And then I can change the color in there in the original form, the original vector version, and then just save it there, and it will automatically update right there in Photoshop. So it just pops right in. So there's our blue. All right, so we got the basic foundation here. Now let's start getting into the details that give it kind of my signature style, really start to make things pop a little bit. So I'm going to pull up my elements again. Like I said, I have this little elements folder, which has got the Justice League wallpaper. I've also got this grungy paper texture that you can just find. You can look for these online. DeviantArt has these, or just Google like distressed paper textures, and you can just kind of find these things. Right now I need this old wall texture, which is literally just a picture of a wall. So I'm just going to drag that on top. And I'm going to bring it down to 15%, actually bump it up to 15%, and then turn it 90 degrees. These are all right here in your top bar, and I'm just going to slide it right over the Justice League image. I'm going to do another clipping mask. So over here in my layers panel, if you see my mouse, I'm going to drag it right over top, and I'm going to right click and create clipping mask. That'll lock it to that place. Another thing that you're going to need to learn about if you use Photoshop, these are lifesavers. These are awesome. They're called blending modes. It's right up here where it says normal in this drop-down menu. If you click on that, you can kind of scroll through and see these different blending modes that it'll give you. And just by trial and error, you find the one that looks good. I've found out that for this very specific thing I'm doing, divide works really well. Boom, right there. And then I just need to pull this down. And there we go.
Oh my God, you just blew my mind with that. Finally, that explains everything.
So it's coming along. It's getting there.
I never understood how you did that texture.
I love it. I love it. At least I'm entertaining Cap. Hopefully the viewers are entertained as well. And I'm going to do a second texture now for the whole image. So I've done the image itself, but I want to do the background. See how it's just kind of that bland white. So that's where that paper texture comes in. I'm going to pull in grungy paper texture. I'm going to look at my notes because I have the exact sizing to do. Normally I wouldn't be looking at things, but I just want to do this quickly. So I'm going to bring it to 23%. Usually I would just eyeball it, just kind of resize it, and then I'm just going to pull it all the way to the top, line it up. And then all I have to do is do another blending mode, because it's taking up the whole screen right now. Go to blending mode. Instead of normal this time, instead of divide, we're going to do multiply. Boom. And there we go. We have our back texture.
So you must have used that technique on the Edible States cover, right? Or something really similar to it, because you've got that worn, weathered, old book that somebody dropped in a gutter look, like
the map. Yeah, I definitely pulled that in for the map,
or something like it.
Yeah,
that looks so realistic. I was always trying to figure out how you did it, but I didn't want to ask you because again, it's like deconstructs the magic trick.
Yeah, and maybe I'm making a mistake by doing that, but I think people will be interested.
Oh no, not at all. I feel like I'm coming out of the Matrix.
Sorry if I'm breaking your brain, but there we go. So we have a nice background texture. I'm going to do one more thing because I'm picky. I don't like how this kind of green is coming through on the background and how there's brown. So I'm going to do another adjustment layer to just this. So I'm going to go here, adjustment layer again. This one's going to be a hue saturation layer. And I'm just going to grab my saturation slider and I'm going to desaturate it. And then I'm going to also do a clipping mask on that one, so that just desaturates the background. So if you can see the slight change there, the color in the background, and I'm just desaturating just that piece, not the whole image.
Wow, hardly. Let me say this real quick. This is the thing DJ does all the time. Or used to do this more, but it still happens occasionally. He'll send me an image, and then he'll be like, don't use that yet. It might not be done. And then I'll get another image from him later, use that, and I'm looking at both of them side by side. I cannot tell what he changed.
That's me, man. I am a perfectionist. Always have been, to a fault. All right, so we've got most of the stuff here. I'm going to fine tune this a little bit and just give a little tip here. So if you're trying to line things up right, you go over here to your ruler on the side and just click and drag, and you can drag out a nice guide here. And this is how you can keep these measurements straight. So you see how my text here is off. It's not lined up with the logo at the bottom, so I'm going to bump that over. And then you can just hit Command or Control. Command if you're on Mac, Control if you're on Windows, semicolon, and boom, those go away, or you can bring them back whenever you need them. So the next thing we're going to do, we've added our textures. Now, really, the last thing I want to do is this really cool, like, actually, let me do my texture first on the text. See how the text is really bland here? I'm just going to copy that same old wall texture. So in order to do that, you just hit Command J, which creates a copy of the layer. So now I have another one. I'm going to pull it over the text and drag it over here so you can see that. And let me change the text or the size really quick. So Command T again, like I said, whenever you're trying to resize something, which is, I'm going to make it a little smaller. And then I'm going to turn it back to 0 degrees, rotation, and I'm going to pull it back up here. And just put it right on the text. And there you go. So that makes that kind of in the image, so it doesn't stand out in the rest of the image. And I'm also going to do a clipping mask, like always. So that texture's only on the text itself.
Yeah.
All right, and then the last thing I'm going to do, the biggest thing and the hardest thing, if you're following along, I'm going to add the rest of the image behind there, kind of breaking out of the brushstroke, which is something I started doing on the Megamind Superhero Rewind, and I've kind of been doing it ever since when I can fit it in. It's kind of a necessity thing because the way I had a brushstroke on that poster, it was like cutting off major parts of people's faces. So I wanted to fill them in, but I didn't want it to be too obvious, so I kind of fade them off into like a grayscale image like this. Same thing happened with this one, because as you can see, Wonder Woman and Flash's heads are getting chopped off. So what I have to do, real quick, I'm going to go to my brush, which right now is still that giant hand. So I need to change that back to just a regular, normal brush, because I'm noticing this thing up here that I don't need, this little flap up here. That wasn't supposed to be there. All right, so all I'm going to do is, first of all, I'm going to organize this because it's kind of a mess. Definitely keep your layers organized, because some of these designs for these thumbnails can have like 30, 40 layers, and if you don't keep them organized, it's a pain in the butt to try to find everything. So I'm going to just click on this little folder icon down here after I've selected my layers.
Wow. Yeah, I've never made anything with that many layers. Like 7 or 8 at most.
Yeah, it gets crazy. So this is going to be my image folder, and then I'm going to make this folder my text folder. So I'm going to click that folder icon again and separate that as my text, because what I'm about to do is copy this entire image folder because I need another one. So like I said, Command J to copy. I'm going to pull that one in front. I'm just going to delete this levels because I don't need that. But I have this. So I have this image now. I'm going to delete my brushstroke also because I don't need that for the second one. And there's my original image. This is where Photoshop's algorithm kind of tools that they have is really amazing. Probably when you were on Photoshop, Cap, you had to like select things by hand and it was really difficult. Now they have this incredible selecting feature where you hit select, and then they have this, you scroll down here to subject, and it will select your subject for you. It's not always perfect, but it usually does a pretty good job. Wow. So I'm going to do that. And there you can see it selects right around Flash, Wonder Woman, and Batman.
Yeah, I knew that was possible now, but because Jason's done it with a couple of programs. But yeah, I mean, I haven't used Photoshop since you had to use the lasso tool. Yeah,
you can still do that. And I'm actually still going to have to do that here, probably well, For this, it should be fine. You can see it didn't do that great of a job. So what I would do normally is I would just come in here and clean that up with either the lasso tool or the polygonal lasso tool.
It gets
so
you
just to show
started, though. That probably saves you like half an hour or more.
So you can add some bits in here. I'm just going to do it really, because I don't actually need all this. I'm just going to be using their faces. So it did a good enough job on their faces. So I'm going to come down here and hit a layer mask. This is what I was talking about earlier, where I want to erase the background but do it non-destructively. So I hit layer mask and boom, everything disappears. And then in order to add to that layer mask, this is a nice thing. It's going to make it easy for me. I'm going to actually select my brush stroke behind it because I want everything that's not in the brush stroke, because I need to fill in the gaps. So I'm going to hold Command or Control on Windows. I'm going to click right here the image of my brush stroke, and it's going to select that little watercolor brush stroke that I made behind it. And now I can just go into my layer mask, bring out my brush tool over here, make the size a little bigger, and then I can just erase away everything that isn't in that original brush stroke. And there you go. So that's what we have there. I also, like you can see here, I erased the bottom part where it's like they're coming out of the brush stroke. So I also need to erase that too. So I'm going to shrink my brush back down, and which you just have to hold the right bracket on your keyboard. Left and right bracket shrinks and grows your brushes. So there we go. I have a little bit of problem because the brush stroke is a little bit different.
Now I'm seeing why you don't want to destroy anything, because you would have had to have done that a long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah. So I need.
Or you couldn't have done it at all.
Yeah. I'm gonna actually have his leg come out like. Maybe I'll do it like this. It's a little different because I had to recreate that brush stroke at the beginning, which was kind of annoying.
I'm going to make it better this time.
All right, so the last thing is just changing that gradient map, because the gradient map is still there. And I'm just going to change it to just a blue and a gray. So I don't need all these. Let me go in here. I have the colors already written out because I'm trying to go quickly. So the first color is going to be just kind of that gray color. And then the second color is going to be that darker blue. This is just to give it that grayscale look that I was talking about, to make it kind of fade into the background. I'm also going to make it select layer mask. I don't know what happened. Oh, I see what happened. There we go. All right, so there we go. So a little bit different because I had to make that brush stroke at the beginning, which is kind of annoying because I couldn't perfectly recreate that because Photoshop was bugging out, but I'll just erase his leg there a little bit. But I think that is it. I don't know why I'm getting kind of a... Yeah, I think that's it. Sorry. It's giving me kind of a weird color there, but that's fine. The last thing I did, well, that's just the text right there. I don't really, that wasn't in the thumbnail. That was just in the title card. Yeah. Because we made two different ones. But obviously I would do the same thing there. I would just make the text and make it blue instead. But yeah, there we go. Do you have any other questions, Cap, about how I did this, or? I know it's a lot. It's a lot to take in. But I'm gonna get some water because I'm sleeping.
I mean, obviously, you make it look really easy, and obviously these are techniques that you've done before, and you've got a lot of notions in your head already about how to get started. Because I know we've been broadcasting for almost an hour, and that wasn't all us watching you build this again, but like it probably took you 35, 40 minutes. Like it looks like a thing that should take a lot longer than that to do.
Yeah, and this is kind of why I wanted to do a rewind for this, because I've done this so many times now that it's kind of second nature to me. Whereas the Captain Logan shows are always different, and some of those do take me longer because I'm just kind of like throwing ideas at the wall and seeing what happens. But
well, I'm really glad that you went with one that we've seen before, because initially I was thinking it would be fun for you to do one that we haven't done yet, and I'm glad that you did this because I got to see how this particular process with this particular thumbnail was done. I found it absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. That's there it is right on the page.
Yeah,
and there's a bunch of them.
And also, if we'd done one for a movie that I haven't reviewed yet, people would expect that to come soon, and I'm on hiatus with that show right now, so.
Yeah. So definitely don't want to add more pressure to you on that or make people angry at me.
Well, good job. That was lovely.
Yeah, thanks, man.
It's really cool to see how the sausage is made.
Yeah, sorry, it's kind of hard to talk while I'm doing that, but
no problem.
But hopefully it was interesting for people. Hopefully they found. Hopefully someone out there learned something and actually is into Photoshop. And
I didn't have any trouble following what you were doing and why, but I didn't always, of course, know like where the commands were in things.
Yeah, there's multiple ways to do everything. Like I said, you can use the key commands, you can use right click, or you can use the bars up here at the top. So that's just getting used to it and seeing which way you like to work. I like to use key commands, but some people don't like to remember all those. So it's totally up to you.
I'm like that with video editing. I use almost entirely key commands.
Yeah, it's fun. It makes you feel like you're really cool and you know what you're doing when you can just be like.
We were talking about giant numbers of layers earlier. I've never had that many in a graphic design program, but I certainly have in Vegas. I've had 35 or 40 in Vegas before.
Yeah, well, the book, I need to look it up. I think the book was probably like 100 layers or something.
Good
the
Lord,
book was
really?
Crazy. The book cover, yeah, it was nuts. Well, the book itself was pages and pages and pages. That was a hard project, but the book cover itself in Photoshop was a lot of layers. I should look up how many that is because I don't remember.
Yeah, I want to talk to you about that soon so we can finally get the print version out because people are still asking me about that and we just haven't gotten to it.
Yeah, sure.
But
I mean,
that needs to happen because I know you did a lot of design work for that, and I don't want you to think that we're not going to do it because we are.
No, hopefully. I mean, I'm ready to do it. I still haven't added that to my website, which I should. The cover, at least. I mean, put the cover on there.
I would imagine that's the most complicated thing you've done, which is not technically for the channel, but we did, use it for the audio version. So.
Yeah, definitely. I slimmed it down for the audio version, obviously, but yeah, the front and back cover version was crazy. Like I said, probably 100 layers. It was really bad, really stressful, but super fun and very fulfilling to do that because I've never done that kind of thing before. I never made a book cover before.
You can't tell looking at it because it was because it's insanely professional and lovely, and I can't imagine anything better. Do you want to come back on camera and we'll answer a few questions real quick?
Sure thing. Here I am.
Now people want sausage. Well, folks, thanks for sticking with us. We're going to answer a few more of your questions here. DJ, thanks for going through all that, man. It was really interesting, a lot of fun to get to see how you do that. Especially after a couple of years of just getting the product and going, I don't know how he does those textures. Makes it look like a worn book that's been in somebody's basement and getting flooded for 60 years.
That's my style. There you go. You just encapsulated my style perfectly.
Blue Dragon 5 wants to know if you'd give a walkthrough of what you need to make a cool-looking thumbnail for beginners.
Yeah, I mean, it would like does he mean like this, like talking through it, or does he mean like written out?
I mean, he's probably just suggesting like could you give just a real quick like summary of what you would say? I don't know, maybe just 3 or 4 tips. Like, what would you suggest to a person that wants to make a more
Oh,
simple
okay.
beginner thumbnail, like what kinds
Like
of
conversations
things
we've had before, honestly.
yeah, and
Yes.
that could be a whole other video, by the way, where you're just like, here's the thing anybody can do. You don't need to know all of these tools that DJ has been using for years. Like, just 4 or 5 things that will, and just tips like the most important things to make your thumbnail stand out and not look crappy.
Yes.
And that you could do in maybe 5 minutes, because like when I make my thumbnails, they take a minute and a half to make.
Yeah. I'm back on camera, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes. The most important thing is image selection, I would say. It's super, super, super important. I know that was something that me and Cap talked about when we were doing Superhero Rewind and kind of revamping it. I know sometimes if you're a viewer or like, I don't know, I guess Blue Dragon 5 is a reviewer. I know you want to pick that really cool image that kind of goes with your main point, or just like something from the show, but make sure it's a good image that'll look good in a small format. Sometimes like I think the first rewind we did in the revamp was like a Turtles one, and it was like an image of like all the turtles, and that movie's already kind of dark. And when you have that many bodies on the screen, it's kind of hard to see what's going on. So make sure you have like a central character, or maybe a couple characters, but just something that you can clearly see what it is, because most people looking at these on mobile and even on desktop, the thumbnails are super tiny. So try to get a more basic image that's going to stand out at literally like this size. So maybe shrink it down in your monitor and make sure it still reads. Also, you can kind of make it doesn't have to be bright colors, but make sure there's good contrast. If you don't know how to make it have good contrast by editing it, then just pick a photo that has high contrast from the beginning. And text can be really important. Sometimes you don't need text, like we talked about earlier, but if you're going to use text, make sure you use a really like geometric, solid font. Don't use like a scripty font or like a font with like a bunch of ornate designs on it, because it's really hard to read at that small size. Even at a big size, sometimes fonts are really hard to read. But what I use mostly, and what a lot of YouTube people use, is a nice, strong, geometric sans serif font. That's just kind of like the one I used right here, where it's very clear, very you can see it, and it's very bold. Because even a really bold font, when you shrink it down, it doesn't look that bold because of the sizing. And if you use really skinny font and then it shrinks down, it's going to be like almost unreadable. So really bold font and a really nice image is kind of all you need. As long as you have a good image, try to find an image with a lot of negative space that you can fill in with that font, with that type. And that's kind of all you need. I know Cap's been doing that lately. You just find a good image and then put your font right, or put your type right in there, and that's pretty much a thumbnail. You can get fancier with it, obviously. But yeah, those are the 2 big things. I know, and you need like a person doing this with red circles.
That's really important, yeah. DJ was really kind to, a long time ago, make a few original images for the different kinds of videos that we make, so that I don't have to go in and do original text every time, and it stands out a lot more from the background. And so we have one for review, and we have one for commentary, and there's 1 or 2 others. We had one for rewind when we need a real quick one before you make the more complicated ones. We were doing that for a while. But so, if you can get an image that, or create an image that has that word, where you can do some kind of word art thing or something, and I think that can help stand out a lot. I would suggest, tell me if you disagree with any of the things I'm going to say, because you're the graphic design guy, but because I've had to come up with some of these, and for years and years I was making really crappy thumbnails, and people like Dan's News would very kindly and very politely criticize me and go, Cap, you really need some better thumbnails. Here's some suggestions so that people can, it's more eye-catching and people will click on your videos, but also so that they can read them better. I would say always all caps with whatever your words are, because it's just easier to read. I guess it kind of depends on the font, but I would think, like, I always only use all caps.
Yeah, it does depend on the font. If they have like ornate like capitals, then yeah, it's gonna be weird. But most fonts, like I said, if you use a simple sans serif font, it's gonna look good in all caps. So I'd agree with that.
Make sure that you're that the words are, large enough, obviously, to be read in, like DJ said, a tiny box. And I think it's good practice to, while you're uploading a video, check it before you go public, because you can upload the thumbnail and see it in a tiny box and see if you can read it and if it looks like catching enough. And if it doesn't, you can always up that font size.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Did you have anything about that? Because I was going to move on to something else, but
No, I just thought of two things that I'm going to say also about this topic, but go ahead and finish your thought.
Sure. Another thing that I've learned recently is, this is going to be a really silly thing to mention, but well, I would say don't, because this is a mistake I used to make. Don't center your words on the screen or on the image, because you want to be able to see whatever that background image is. I guess it depends on what background you use, but it's also just more artistic to have a thing left or right of center frame, and up or down is what I tend to do. So a lot of mine will be like a picture of somebody's face, so I'll just put it off center wherever the face isn't, where you've just got some like blank background space. But don't use the right hand bottom corner, because that's where the length of the video is,
Yes.
the timestamp. I used to do that, and you won't be able to read it if that's there. That's the thing I've learned.
I've learned that the hard way too, because I did it sometimes that way too when I first started, and it's really annoying when I look at after I upload the thumbnail. I'm like, oh, it's covering up half. It probably still does it to some of the things I do, which is just annoying, because you can't always account for that.
There were images I thought were great that I had to axe, because the only place to put the word review was in the bottom right hand corner. It's the worst.
Yeah. So that's annoying. You really got like no space to work with. You have a tiny screen already, and then they put that over it. It's tough, especially for all the stuff I try to fit into some thumbnails sometimes. I'm not actually good about this. YouTube would not approve of my thumbnails. Like, the way YouTube tells you to do thumbnails is like super basic. That's why everyone has those people, they want you to have someone pointing. They just want like one word, like they want it to be super basic. And I always try to fit more fancy stuff in there. But we can do that because we're a small channel, so who cares? But two more things I was going to say to Blue Dragon 5 before I moved on.
Yeah.
And this goes into what Cap was talking about me making those pre-made like text things that stand out more in the background. If you can, you can find a software that will do this pretty easily. I think even Word, or like those softwares that you probably shouldn't be using, but can. Just add a drop shadow behind the text. It makes it so much better. You don't need Photoshop to do that. You can do that in simpler ones. But put that behind the text. It makes it pop. Obviously, you can do more advanced shadows in Photoshop, but if you're even in like the most basic thing, just put a drop shadow behind it. It makes it pop out. And then the other thing, when we were talking about backgrounds, if you do find an image that you want to use, but it's too busy, like we were talking about, too many people in it or too much of a busy background, a lot of software, even simpler ones, not necessarily Photoshop, you can cut out the background. Like we were talking about with like the selection tools, cut out the character from the background, add a different background. A lot of thumbnails do that, and that'll just simplify it enough so you can still see that image that you wanted, but it's not as busy. So figure out how to do that.
Also, if you're really lazy, there are a lot of images that people post on Google Image Search that are already transparent. So you can do a transparent search just for anything Batman transparent or whatever it is, and you're going to be really limited on the images you can use, but you might find something that works, and then you can put it on any background. The last thing I want to mention about this is you don't have to use something like Adobe for the really simple thumbnails like the ones I make, if you just want something that's eye-popping and simple and not made by a professional. I just use PowerPoint. It is simple enough. I mean, you put in your background image, and then you can move your text or the thing that says review, whatever it is that you're using, front or back. I'm really lazy about it. I have all of the text that I tend to use for videos all just in one right now, and I just put everything to the back that I'm not using, and then I bring them back forward when I need one. I've been using the exact same document for 2 years.
And one more quick thing, because I just don't know if people even know this. I know some people do, but fonts are everywhere, and a lot of them are free. People make free fonts that you can download anywhere. Like go to just like 100fonts.com or like Font Squirrel or like Google Fonts. Like you just go to these sites and literally just download them and double click them, and it'll install it on your computer. And just use, so like you're not limited by the crappy fonts you have that come with your computer. Just go download the OTF files and they go right to your computer. So just find one that you like. Obviously, there's fonts that cost a lot of money, but yeah, there's a lot of free fonts out there. And if you're just doing YouTube stuff like this and you just need a simple, clean font, you can definitely find one for free.
I use a Batman font actually for the majority of my thumbnails, and it's called Gotham Knights. And it's just a font that I download. I've got a Power Rangers font, a lot of different things like that.
Yeah. A lot of the fonts I use are more professional fonts, but I do use, whenever I do like a custom, like Mandalorian, I need a Star Wars font, or like when I do a Batman thing, I need a Batman font. Like you can just Google Batman fonts and just download them. I'm sure a lot of people know this, especially this generation. But if you don't, just Google and you'll find whatever you need.
T-Edge1, hi Tom, $2 super chat, all caps because you are Cap. LOL, great show tonight. Yeah, a couple people made an all caps joke because I said that your font should be in all caps. They should be in all me. I'm very vain. I probably think this video is about me.
It is. It all is.
It is not. Let's see. Blue Dragon 5 again. What do you think makes for an uninteresting or generic thumbnail? Everything we just talked about, those are very generic thumbnails. But they get the job done. I'm glad we talked about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because all the things that YouTube tells you to do have now become cliche and generic. And like there's just 1,000, like just for this video, I was typing in how to make a thumbnail. And they all, because I was like, I don't know what to make for a thumbnail for this video. And I looked it up and it was like all the same. Like every single one is a person looking at the screen, pointing up here at some text that says how to make a thumbnail. If anyone at home will do that, Google how to make a thumbnail right now, and you will see it's just like a person doing this with text that says how to make a thumbnail. Can you
explain that whole thing to me? Like why it's supposed to be good strategy? First of all, because it doesn't set you apart if everybody's doing it. But also, how does some dude pointing at something or having this is a thing that I see with major like movie reviewers on YouTube, where they'll have a particular facial expression to give you a sense of maybe what their opinion will be of a movie before you click on it. You ever noticed that? Like, yeah. What I don't understand is, and I don't like that, by the way, I don't want to know what a person's opinion is before I click on it, but that's neither here nor there. I digress.
I would think that would deter some people from clicking on it.
It does me. I don't click on it. I'm like, okay, either he hates it or he's trying to bait me to click on it, and either way, I don't care anymore. But here's what I don't understand. How does it get people that have never seen your channel before to click on it when it's you in the thumbnail? Like, that seems really kind of, like, self-indulgent to me. Not intentionally so, but it's just like, oh, yeah, it's this guy. Like, well, I know there's going to be a person in the video talking, whether I see him on camera or not. Like, it might entice people more if you know the person already, but then, even then, you're already subscribed, you know what the person looks like. Why does the person need to be in the thumbnail? I've never understood that.
I don't know. That's what YouTube tells you to do. I mean, I guess their logic is like people like a human connection. They like a personality, just like in any kind of entertainment space, and they like to connect with you and count on you and know that they can always. It's the kind of like that's YouTube in general. Like you're talking to them personally. It's a very like interactive medium.
But like, do you think more people would subscribe to me if they saw my crazy hair in a video? Like in a thumbnail. I don't understand that.
I don't know. It works for people, I guess. But the problem, but like you said, now that everyone does it, it's very, it doesn't stand out anymore. So next week, or tomorrow for the Thursday Captain Logan show, it'll be Cap's face.
I'm totally going to do that, yeah. DJ's going to make us a thumbnail. It's just me pointing at something.
Pointing at some news article.
Yeah, I don't know why I went up. I'll just be at the bottom of the thumbnail. That's how we'll stand apart.
Yeah, we'll hang upside down. That'll do it.
yeah, I'm like this, and I'm just pointing. That's amazing. Daniel Davis, what future thumbnail are you looking the most forward to making?
Ooh, do we have anything on the roadmap?
Nothing
Everything's
huge.
on hiatus.
I mean, you want to make a thumbnail for my wife delivering our twins? Like, that's the next big thing for me on the horizon.
I'll make the hiatus thumbnail, the announcement video where you're like, "Bye, guys.
See
it's
you later.
Doomsday."
I got better things to do.
Let's see, what is on the horizon? I know we talked about Watchmen and Willy Wonka forever, so I'm going to love making those when we finally get down to those, because those have been, we've been talking about those for years, both of those videos. So those commentaries, whether we do them on Streaming Wars or not, I'll have to find a really cool image for those. That'll be fun. Real quick, I want to mention, we talked about some of my favorites that I've done. I really liked the top 20, and you just talked about this recently because you did that video with Connor, but your top 20 movies of all time. I made a fun...
I can't remember what that looked like right off the top of my head.
I made it purple for the channel, and it was like cutouts of some of your favorite people, like Wonka.
That's
and
right.
Christian Bale, Batman Begins, and it had like film reels going across the top, like it was a cutout. That was really cool. I like that one. That was one of the earlier ones that I did.
Yeah, it's purple. It's got a Velociraptor in it for Jurassic Park, and no, that one's neat.
Yeah, that was a really fun one. Let's see.
That is a high quality image when I just put it up to my camera in a small square right next to another square.
See, there you go. That would not do good on the algorithm because it's so busy and it's such a tiny screen, but I got to get it in there. Like, most of my thumbnails work as wallpapers on your desktop, which they shouldn't. That's not a good thumbnail, but I don't care. I want to make cool stuff. I don't want
Part of the reason that it works great for our channel, though, is because at least with Rewind, we use it for both. So it'll be the thumbnail, but it's also the image in the background on a glorified podcast. And we don't do that for everything. I have sometimes found ways to work the image itself into the video. So I don't have an animated intro anymore for Comic Vault. Lately, I've been using a lot of intros anyway, just to kind of save time, because I have so little time to work on the channel right now. So I tend to just get in. I mean, I'm using the webcam 100% right now. It's just a lot easier to do and just sit down. And some things I don't even have to edit. So I'm not trying to be lazy. It's just I'm able to get stuff out for you guys, and that's why I do that. But anyway, and there's not export time. You get it faster. Whatever. That's the reason I do that. But anyway, but with the Comic Vault, when I do have that intro, it's the image that you made for that just zooming out. So I like some of those things we'll use in the video.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about Comic Vault. That was a fun one too, and that was definitely in the
that's
kind
one of
of
my favorites.
Pulpy style. That one I really steered into that because it was comic book, so I definitely went all in that one.
That was one of the first things you made when you came on as a staple officially, if memory serves. I think that was one of the first things we had you do.
Yeah, that was one of the first like brands that I took over. Well, the first thing I did was the main brand with the planets,
which I'll probably never get away from now. It's the best thing. It encapsulates the channel and my personality and everything just so perfectly. I'll never get away from it now. But you also did the Captain Logan Show logo, or was that even? Or no, that was right around the same time because you had to use the whole purple motif with it.
Yeah. So it was main channel rebrand, then Captain Logan Show, and then the Comic Vault.
Because I want to say this inspired you to do the brick. I feel like we had to get into the bunker before you thought of the brick. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
No, I was on the show at the old house still.
No, I was at the old house. I forgot about that. Yeah. This was just a happy coincidence. You know?
No, yeah, you got down there and you're like, look, it's the Captain Logan Show studio. I was like, yes.
You know what I should do now that I'm looking at my background? It's funny, I'm just now thinking of this, but I've got that little section that's lit up purple with the mood lighting. I should rig it up so that the mood lighting goes all the way across the back wall, so that the back wall is the purple wall that's in the background.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
I should. I'm gonna look into that. I should rig that up. That'd be really cool.
Well, and I know that like when you first got into the bunker, you were excited about that brick wall being your background. But I think later on when you started setting up your desk and everything, you decided to turn it this way. But
it's still back there. You can see it. It's just not the background. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, if you had that back there and you could get it lit so it looked like the purple wall, that would be crazy. Straight from the logo. But yeah, then not long after that was the After Dark logo.
Mm-hmm.
Was right after that, kind of hand in hand with the SSS logo.
And
SSS.
And I think right around there was Batmosphere.
Yeah, that was after that, and then I revamped Morphin Mania when we separated to the other channel.
And you did that wonderful animated video that claims that we're going to do all of them. So now we have to do all of them. It's like every Power Ranger episode ever. And when you sent me that, I was like, we weren't going to do them all, right? But it's too cool not to use it. So I guess we have to now. I guess that is an example of a place where you put a thing in an image and now we have to.
That's true. Wow, I do have the power apparently when it's Power Rangers. But it's okay because you'll keep your hair forever, and we can always do those until we die because you'll never lose your hair.
So you want to be an Imagineer, right? But if I did, then we'd just quit. So you want to be an Imagineer? Hey, buddy, how you doing? My budget only allows me to work with a cheap laptop that pretty much crashes when I use Adobe. Are there any less demanding image editing programs that you would recommend?
See, this I don't know. When you go to art school, you have access to all the Adobe programs for the whole 4 years that you're there. And then I got out of art school, went straight to a job where they pay for my Adobe Suite. And then every job I've had since pays for your Adobe Suite. So I've never had to use anything other than Adobe. So I'm not your guy, but I'm positive that if you just Google free Photoshop equivalents, you'll find tons of stuff. There's a lot of stuff out there. And I know, because you can even do stuff just from like your phone or your tablet. I know Cap's son has been doing some crazy stuff on his tablet, and you can do a lot of cool stuff. So, and I do know that you can get Photoshop and Lightroom. Lightroom is the Adobe editing photos, which I've been getting really into lately. You can get both of those for only like $20 a month, I think. If you, for like a one-person account. So I don't know if that might not be in your budget either, but if that is in your budget, that's a really good deal if you just need Photoshop. If you pay for all the other software like Adobe Illustrator, the Adobe Premiere, which is the video editor, Adobe After Effects, like that gets really, really pricey. So I'm glad that my work pays for it. But yeah, if you just need Photoshop, I think it's only $20 a month if you get the base plan. But it just depends on how much you're going to use it. I should say, I don't know if there's anyone in the audience, but I have worked with people other than Cap on YouTube, and I've made thumbnails for other people. So if anyone has any work that they need done, I can work with you, and we can get a price worked out, and I can make you some really cool stuff. It just depends on what your budget is or how much time you want me to work on it. I'm sure we can work out something. So throw that out there real quick. I didn't even mention that, but I am doing this for a living. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you plugged that, and we should have led with it. I don't know why I didn't think of it either, but I don't know. I guess I didn't want to be presumptuous about it. I should have asked you before the show because I don't know, what kind of time you have to do extra little projects like that. But occasionally, someone sent me an email or a message somewhere and been like, "Hey, can I get DJ to make something for me?" And I'll give him your information and be like, "Well, go ask him. He does it for a living." So. He's gonna he'll be really fair and his prices are great, but he's gonna charge you something. And for the record, because I'm not sure people totally understand this, and we don't have to get into the sausage with this, as it were. But I do pay DJ for what he does here on the channel. Like he and I do this together. It is a job to some degree for the both of us. It's not full time for DJ like it is for me because he has a full time job. But this is a lucrative thing for the both of us to some degree.
Yeah, and
in case you're wondering about that, because I was afraid after you said that somebody would be like, well, why does he work for Cap for free? He doesn't. Just so you know, he doesn't.
No, and like you said, I do have a full-time job where I work 8 hours a day, and then I do this stuff on top of that. So I don't have too much time for freelance, but I can usually get the thumbnails done pretty quickly, and that works good for me, and it works good for you too, because you don't have to. It's cheaper the faster I get it done, because I usually go by the hour or under. I usually get things done in less than an hour. So yeah, that works for everyone, and it's fun. I just love working on this stuff. That's mostly why I love doing the channel, is because it lets me do something that I love. I love what I do at work. It's fun and satisfying, but I'm I'm a UX designer these days, so I'm designing web applications and mobile applications, and just kind of like getting the user experience built, which is satisfying in a different way. But I don't get to do cool like superhero stuff and geeky stuff. So that's why I love getting clients here on YouTube, because it's like the more fun stuff. And I get to be more creative and definitely more artistic than just like creating forms and fields on a UI somewhere.
Yeah, it breaks up the monotony of some of that stuff, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Philip Kelton, so you are a graphic designer too. Yeah, I mean that's DJ's main job, and that's the way he came to me in the first place, really, or at least the reason that I brought you on to do certain things.
Yeah,
like
we
I
first
met
talked,
you through Patreon, but
yeah, we first talked in a Patreon hangout. And I think, well, before that, we even did that was weird, because before we even did any graphic design stuff, we did that Bates Motel review, just because I was the only other person that you'd ever met that watched it.
that's
So we did that.
true. Yeah, and then we talked about doing the video, that fateful video about your being on the set for Spider-Man: Homecoming as an extra, and then it was a long time before we did that. Like I want to say we were doing Power Rangers before we finally did.
We were already doing More for Me.
Were we really?
Did that.
But yeah, Power Rangers was the first big like on-screen thing that we were doing together regularly, because you weren't the chat moderator for this yet, and then we had you doing design work for this and for the channel, and then eventually I needed a moderator, and I didn't think you would do it. I figured you were too busy, and you're like, no, I'd love to try, because I knew you didn't love me on camera, and I was like, too, and I was like, I don't think he'll do it, and he was like, yeah, I'll try it, and then it's worked out for a couple of years, and it's been wonderful.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been weird. Don't like it's not something I ever thought I would do. Definitely a behind the scenes guy, but it's just this is much easier than, I don't know, just talking to you face to face, so I don't have to. I'm just looking at you and just kind of talking. If I was just talking straight at the camera, I'd probably be a little more awkward, which I was tonight because I didn't have anyone to bounce off of.
You did great.
So that was a little weird. Sorry about the awkwardness. And that was also a little weird because I had to look back at my other screen to get the measurements. But yeah, hopefully it was enjoyable for you guys. And yeah, I've loved the support from you guys. I love getting to hang out with Cap these last couple of years. So it's been a blast.
Couple
who would
quick
have thought?
super chats about, as always, stuff we were talking about a few minutes ago, and I didn't see these while we were talking. But Phil Kelton, $20 Mexican pesos chat. Thanks, man. You're promising an experience. He's talking about with